If you have ever wondered what all the hubbub about counseling and mental health is and thought, I don't really think I need it, I don't have a problem, this episode is for you. Today, I'm speaking with licensed counselor Briana Leach, who honestly makes me want to schedule an appointment just with her to be my own personal counselor. Stick around. Hey there, I'm Amy Connell, and welcome to the Graced Health Podcast. I'm a personal trainer who wants you to know your eating, movement, and body don't have to be perfect. You just need to be able to do what you're called to do. This podcast is for women who want simple and grace-filled ways to take care of themselves and enjoy a little chocolate in the process. Here's a confession that I actually confess in today's episode. I have never enlisted the help of a mental health professional. I dig deeper into this with our guest today, Briana Leach, but I've just never really felt like I had a problem, and I'm using that in quotes, big enough to warrant it. I have to tell you though, my conversation with Briana turned that upside down. She taught me the importance of preventative mental health, just like when we take our children in for their well child checkups, normalizing the experience, and the importance of asking, but why? We even have some of those but why moments where I get kind of honest and vulnerable. The beautiful and amazing thing is she just made it so easy to talk about hard things. Briana brings 15 years of professional counseling experience with a wide variety of settings. She's a licensed professional counselor, college professor, public speaker, and host of the Grace in Progress podcast. So you know that I love that show, especially because it has the word grace in it. She is passionate about mental health education and creating opportunities for people to have aha moments about the way they were uniquely created. Briana's favorite job titles are wife to Ben and mom to 3 hilarious kiddos. She loves the Tennessee Titans and is a Parks and Rec super fan. You can learn more about Briana at brianaleachlpc.com. I know you are going to enjoy my conversation with Briana, so I will not hesitate any further. Let's bring her on. Briana, I'm so glad we've been sitting here talking before. So you and I are both giggling a little bit, and that is just okay because I think that is just such a fun aspect of how we met and we instantly connected. And I'm so glad that you have joined me here today. So thank you for your time in this.
Oh, I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you, Amy.
Yes. So I've introduced you a little bit at the beginning with your bio, but can you tell me just a little bit more about what you're doing? You know, one of the things that I really, really love about your podcast, Grace in Progress, is that you always tell us a few things that you love. I think that's so creative. There's a lot of things that you do about your own with your own show, but tell us a few things that you're loving right now.
Right now, in particular, I'm loving curbside pickup and and Zoom calls. But no, I am loving getting to know my kids on an individual basis and spending more time with them and trying to create my own creamers because apparently there's a shortage at the stores. And so I'm learning to create my own coffee creamers. And I'm also learning, I'm about to start a new hobby called needle punch or punch needle. I can't even get it right yet, but I'm wanting to create something with my hands when I have idle time. And it's going to be a new craft. It's like in between embroidery and rug hooking, but it's supposed to be for people who are beginners. So I'm excited to try that.
Oh, that is exciting. It is. Yeah, we are recording this at the end of March, and this episode will be airing in May during Mental Health Awareness Month. And it is mind-blowing to think that we may still be loving and needing curbside pickup at that
Yes.
time.
Yes.
We don't really know what's going to be coming out, but it is a unique time. And I
Mm-hmm.
too am loving Zoom, and I'm loving the technology that we have now.
Mm-hmm.
I do these Facebook Lives on Monday and Wednesday and Friday for people. And I said today, I was like, we could not have done this even 20 years ago. We couldn't. I mean, this is community now,
Absolutely.
right? Like, this is the
Yes.
only way that we can have community, and we both know how important it is. But
Mm-hmm.
how lucky are we to be able to get on a computer and you can see my fancy podcast studio with my shoes in my
Mm-hmm.
background, but where we can have this conversation. So that
Yeah.
it's so fantastic.
Oh, yeah, and our kids upstairs are doing whatever. It's so wonderful to have. Yes, so we said the same thing. Even I loved Walmart grocery pickup even before all of this, but how much more you take things for granted and how appreciative you are. I think we will all come out better on the other side of this, just being thankful for daily things and interactions.
I totally agree. I totally agree. I think it'll be interesting to see where God takes all of our individual priorities and where we want to spend our
Mm-hmm.
time and what we do with this time. So how we,
Sure.
it's like my pastor talked about, is this a speed bump or a diversion? Are we just
Yeah.
slowing down and then we're going to pick back up, or are we kind of diverting? And
Yeah.
that was a really powerful message. But we're not here to talk about that. Hopefully,
Yeah. Yeah.
hopefully when people listen to this, are like, that's so old news. I don't
Yes.
know.
Over. Been there, done that.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
exactly. Don't want to do it again. What we want to talk about today is something I know you are so passionate about, which is the mind body connection,
Mm-hmm.
how our body reacts to stress, how it reacts to anxiety. And I'm really interested to dig into this just a little bit more. Can you just talk a little bit in general about that mind body connection? Because I know we hear of it a lot. And
Mm-hmm.
in my world, I have listeners who may practice yoga, who
Mm-hmm.
may even meditate, which is something that I wish I did. It's like, I wish I did
Mm-hmm.
it, and I never take the time to do it. But
Mm-hmm.
can you talk to us a little bit about that is connected, um, and what we can do to start being more attentive to that?
Sure. Yeah, I think it's a layered question for sure because I've always been somebody who views ourselves as or myself as a holistic person. So I can't think about physical health without incorporating mental health as well. And I know that's not been our culture's norm. And it's not even, especially as a faith based community, it's not always the norm. You think about your body as a temple. The first thought in your head is physical health. You think about, oh, that means I need to exercise, I need to eat right. And all that is extremely crucial. And I'll get to that later, how that impacts your mental health. But people overlook the part of our thoughts, our mindset, how we're guarding our hearts. The Bible talks about guarding your heart and really how it's presented. The way the heart is used over 200 times in the Bible, the translation is your thoughts, your mind. So when you think about guarding your heart and investing in yourself, it's really talking about the foundation of that is what you're allowing in your mind, how you're thinking, where your heart is, there your treasure will be, and or vice versa, either way. But it's amazing to see the research from major institutions, from different research laboratories that have talked about the direct connection between mental health and physical health. And on a non-scientific level, we all know that when you're stressed, your heart rate is elevated. Chronic stress can lead to obesity, to diabetes. I think there's just a lack of awareness of how important your mental health is in regards to your overall health. And I joke that if I'm hoping by the time our kids, the next generation or sooner, hopefully, will normalize seeing a counselor, going to a therapist or a psychologist. That, if I were to say, oh, I haven't been to a doctor in a long time, you'd probably think, what's wrong with you? You need to go. Like, you need to go get your levels checked, get a blood draw or whatever. But if I were to say, oh, I haven't been to a counselor in a while, you might think, oh, wow, she's doing really good. And it just amazes me, the unevenness and the discrepancy of honoring our mental health as much as we honor our physical health. And overall, both of those are key components to our body is a temple. And I always go back to God has not given us a spirit of fear, love, power, and a sound mind. And the sound mind part is the part that makes up so much of our overall health. So I don't want to dive too much into the nuts and bolts, but I think it's so crucial for believers especially to understand the precedent that's laid out for us in the Bible, the model we have through the way Jesus practiced self-care, to know that this is important to God and it should be important to us too, just how he created us.
That is really convicting to me. And I'm really going to have to take that and kind of and see on a personal level how I can apply that to my life. What
Mm-hmm.
you're saying about seeing a mental health professional really it's kind of rocking me right now. So it's going to take a minute for me to
Sorry.
no, I love it though. I love
Okay.
it. I'm so glad you said that. But it's so true because you think, okay, like I confess, and I probably this is probably like someone saying, Amy, I never work out, I never exercise. I've never enlisted the help of a mental health professional.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's because I've always felt like, well, I need to have a reason to go. There's
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't have a reason, or is this reason big enough to
Yeah.
go? And
Right.
because we have considered it in various, forms throughout our family life, um, but it's never really felt like this is something, it's there's not a reason.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not
There's not a problem.
there's not a problem. I'm not, yeah. And
Yeah.
so what would you say? And
Mm-hmm.
I know this isn't what we're wanting to talk about, so I'm sorry that we're diverting, but there's probably someone else there like me. And so
Yeah.
since I have a counselor on the line, I'm just going to take advantage
Yeah.
of it.
No, do
What
it.
would you say, like, what would even a first session look like? What do you
Yeah.
even say when you call, like, I don't have anything wrong with me, but I think I need to come see you? I mean,
Yeah.
talk me through that a little bit.
Right. I think I always say part of my job as a counselor is to normalize and navigate. So just to normalize seeing a counselor is step one. To be able to see someone for the same reason you would go to a primary care doctor once a year. So I know that counseling takes a lot more than just one visit a year, but just getting in the door the first time is the huge hurdle to get over. And if you've ever sat in a therapy session with a good counselor, you don't want it to end. You want to go back. And I would tell someone who's never been before, preventative counseling is even more powerful than reparative counseling, in my experience.
Hmm.
So when I do premarital counseling, when I do family counseling for not necessarily issues with the teenager, but they're like, we know these years are going to be rocky. Like we just know. Well, the reality is that's going to be it. So if we can do
This is
something on,
truth.
you know,
Yes. This is
if
true.
we can,
True
yes,
statement.
very true. If we can do something between the 10 to 12 years that will prevent some of this, that's even more, it's just like fitness to me. It's like the more I can prepare on this end while I have the energy, while I have the mindset of growth, then that's going to avoid a lot of pitfalls later on. And the same with mental health. If I can get in while we're good, we can expand our self-awareness. We can identify some potential roadblocks. There are things like in a marriage, if you can get in while things are great, that's when I actually recommend counseling, because you're more open and willing to learn about yourself and the others, rather than once you're in fight or flight kind of mode, you already have the walls up. And all of this does affect your physical health, because you think about the chronic stress you carry around when you're at odds with the person you live with, and or with a child or any of that. I think I got more passionate about preventative counseling when I started working with postpartum women after they've had a baby and dealing with depression. And I backed up and thought, man, if we could have talked about this beforehand, this would have helped so much. And I actually do that now. It's called newborn family coaching. And we meet 3 sessions before the baby comes, 2 after. And my own case study is that the ones who prepare beforehand are 10 times more, that's not my actual stats, but they're 10 times more aware or willing to accept the reality of what's going on, other than if your misconceptions, had led you down a different path. So I think a lot of people have a view of what a counselor will look like, the couch, lay on the couch, and they're going to, if people meet me and know I'm a counselor, they're like, oh, don't psychoanalyze me. But that's not what it is. Like, counselors are literally just there to let you talk. If you talk for 59 minutes and they don't say a word, you still got your money's worth. You're able to just get it out there, normalize stuff, or help prepare for maybe a new season of life or a change. I don't know if that answered your question, but just to destigmatize that you have to have a problem. Not at all. Same as you go to a doctor just to check in, make sure everything's looking good. How are my levels? You can do that with a counselor. I didn't see a counselor myself for a long time. And even becoming a counselor, I finally started seeing one, and I kicked myself thinking I could have been much healthier at this point if I had done this sooner. So,
okay, that's good information. So just calling someone and finding someone who comes recommended or whatever, and just saying, you know what, I just want to come in, and we'll just call this preventative maintenance, and then,
yeah.
and no one's going to look at you funny, or at
No,
least the good
counselors are
ones.
not expecting to rebuild a broken house in one, like every
Yeah.
time. I love having clients that are preparative, are planning ahead, that we know life gets tough. So how can I go ahead and sharpen the tools I have while they're accessible?
Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's really good to know. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about, like you just talked about the chronic stress.
hmm
And can you help us understand a little bit more about how our body reacts to that?
hmm
Again, we're talking in the midst of a very stressful time, not only for our country, but for our
hmm
world. What kind of things can we expect? Again, to be on the front end of it, our bodies
hmm
to be doing during stressful times, whether or not it's COVID or not.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great question, because if you haven't made yourself aware of the way that your body reacts to your emotions and to triggers, that's step one. So just increasing your awareness of, when I talk about a certain topic, all of a sudden I feel the blood flowing through my veins. I feel it in my hands. I feel it in the way my body language shifts, or the way I subconsciously, your body's going to do it regardless. There's actually a book called The Body Keeps the Score. And I love it because we can tell ourselves that we're feeling one way, or this isn't really bothering me. But when your eye starts to twitch and you have upset stomach issues, you think about, my stomach's in knots, and we tie that to nerves, because that's a very real thing. The two are not disconnected. God made us so beautifully, intricately, that everything is connected. So when you anticipate that I'm coming up on this situation and it's going to cause me extra stress, and you're able to implement some self-care practices before that, all of that is how to deal with it. But step one is just being aware of how situations or how emotions impact your body. So if you were to hear the word COVID-19, if you stop, and how does my body react? Does my heart rate increase? Do I get uncomfortable and start to shift in my chair? Do I have, can I take a deep breath and feel okay about it? Or you think about in parenting, if I were to say, the kids are all asleep, you have a physical reaction. Yeah,
Ah.
exactly.
Your shoulders
Exactly.
drop
Your
immediately.
shoulders drop. Yes. But a lot of us, we're so busy. We're so distracted, or maybe we just are ignorant, as far as not in a bad way, but just unaware of how our body's reacting to these everyday stimulus. So it could be something like that. So the kids are all in bed. You physically feel like, freedom, or I just, or accomplishment, or I feel that. And I always say, like, you're sitting down on the inside, you feel it, where your body, your soul is just at rest,
Mhm.
or maybe after you've had an argument with someone and you feel like, I need to drink water, I need to sit down, because your body really has run an emotional marathon. And again, taking a step back, and maybe not physically, but we don't take the time to prioritize that. And that is so essential to understanding how our mental health affects our physical health, and just having a physiological response to emotions. There is overwhelming evidence and research on this that there's no disputing the fact that the two are so interconnected, and vice versa. So you know that when you exercise more, you lessen your anxiety, you improve your mood, it impacts your mental health. I mean, you talk about releasing serotonin, and just good things that you can impact it both ways. So awareness is step one for all of that.
And some of the things that you talked about are what I would call almost like little micro reactions.
Yeah.
When you say, "Oh gosh, I can feel the blood flowing through my hand, through my arms, or
Yeah.
my eye twitching or something like that." Now, sometimes we can see bigger ones, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a sweater. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
this is why I wear tank tops almost all the time, because I
Yeah.
sweat so much, especially when I
Uh-huh.
get amped up. And I personally notice, like, oftentimes after I do interviews, I'm
Mm-hmm.
amped up, and I
Mm-hmm.
finally realized, I was like, you should probably like go for a walk after those interviews, because I can feel that
Yeah.
because I've been excited, and
Yeah.
it's been fun. But how do we start to become more attuned to those little micro things, and raise our awareness of that? Because I think it's really easy just to brush right over those, and
Yeah.
and not even notice them. We don't
Yeah.
even know that we're missing them.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. And it's great that you already noticed that. And I love the term micro because that sounds manageable. I use the term micro practices a lot because they're little things you can add into your day and or habit stacking, stuff like that. But um, I would say the biggest thing, and this probably sounds funny, but it's something I've started doing and I learned it in therapy and I've used it in therapy, where you thank your body as it happens. You thank from a faith-based perspective, you can just thank God for making me so unique and so intrinsically um, special, I guess. And you can thank in that moment, like, so after you've done an interview, oh, okay, thank you, body, for telling me this is something that energizes me. Now, what can I do with that energy? And how do I need to apply it to a walk? Do I need to go clean out a closet? Do I need to go, do something? But having that dialogue with yourself, talking to yourself doesn't mean you're crazy. it means you're in tune with yourself, and we should have a dialogue with ourselves going all the time, or the enemy will just override it and just put all the negative stuff. So when you are practicing regularly a conversation with yourself, um, I view that obviously as a Christian as a conversation with the Holy Spirit too. Just, okay, thank you for giving me this discernment. Thank you for giving me this ability to recognize myself on a deeper level. So it's not just, I did an interview, it energizes me, yay. It's saying, okay, why did that energize me? Was it the connection with the other person? Was it that I felt like I'm giving back something? There's something in your brain that's signaling excitement, that's signaling a heart rate increase, and that's signaling, this is good. I need to do more of this in my life. It's typically you are using your talents, you're using God given gifts, and I like that you already added another step. So now what? Do I need to go, go for a walk, or how can I do that? But I think the process of just thanking and having gratitude for the ability to recognize your physical response to that is really important. And you're already doing that.
Well, and to hear you say that it's what has it been that's excited me? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that I hadn't really made that connection, and so while you're talking,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, "Well, what is it? What is it?" So
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to spend some time thinking about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Oh,
think
I'm always my favorite question is, but why? But why? Like,
yeah,
you said that excites you, but why?
but
Or I
why?
love doing this, but why? Like,
Yes.
it's not, it doesn't discredit anything to dig a little deeper. If anything, it makes it richer and fuller because you understand the layers of what's going on.
Say we are at the point where we're kind of recognizing how our body is reacting.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we're kind of starting to dig in a little bit, but maybe we have these situations in our lives that are kind of uncontrollable.
Mm-hmm.
So, maybe we have a coworker who
Mm-hmm.
drives us mad,
Mm-hmm.
or our children are just going through a really hard time, and it's just not going to get better with one, whatever it is, a
Yeah.
consequence, or a talking to, or whatever that is. How can we prepare our bodies so that it doesn't react in that way? Or maybe maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm on the wrong track here, and that it's good that we are reacting that way. But
Hmm.
how we can basically keep everything in line so that everything is holistic in
Yeah.
how it's all working together.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. There is no right or wrong response to a situation. Now, the way it affects your body negatively is when you feel on a gut level, isn't right, or I shouldn't be feeling this way. And again, why do you feel that way? I would dig a little deeper. Do you feel badly that you feel that way because that's what you've been taught? Or I should always, I see this a lot with helpers, I should always be helping people. So if it drains me, something's wrong with me, or I should love my neighbor. So if what they do annoys me, then am I not a good Christian? That kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Why does that bother you? So you kind of, again, back up, and we all have what I call presets. These are knee-jerk reactions to situations, and some of them are on our own. Some of them are from the enemy, unfortunately, stuff that has been told, or something might be from your childhood, or maybe a parent said it to you your whole life, as far as, let's say, the coworker situation, and you're like, man, that always bothers me because blank, there's no right or wrong here, or I wish I had a 3-step process to like have the right response to every situation.
There's
But
yeah.
it's so unique that it all comes back to self-awareness of, okay, I'm in that situation. I'm seeing this repeatedly. So like you said, if it's something out of your control, obviously first step would be control what you can control. If you need to move your desk or whatever, as far as a coworker. But then understanding why does that bother you? And if you could wake up tomorrow and it be exactly how you want it to be, what would that look like? And sometimes that's achievable, sometimes it's not. So then the next step would be, what can I do to prepare myself as far as self-care, being in a good spot? I like the HALT method. It's like, am I hungry? Am I angry? Actually, I forget L and T.
Lonely and tired.
Lonely and tired. There you
Yes.
go. We can work together. Because it's like sometimes Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if we aren't meeting our base
Mhm.
level of needs, which a lot of it has to do with our physical health. So food, sleep, proper choices, taking care of ourselves, then sometimes our emotions and with the way we connect with other people is shaky because none of that is taken care of in the first place. So there's a lot of introspection going on, which I'm completely comfortable with and all for, but not everybody is. And
Mhm.
so that's my biggest challenge is it's so easy to focus. It's not easy. It's so normal in our culture to focus on strengthening yourself physically. But my goal is to normalize strengthening yourself mentally, which the foundation of that is self-awareness, because I can give you how-tos all day, but they're so individualized because God created us so uniquely that you have to figure out, what does self-care look like for me? What works for someone else may not work for you. What are triggers that I have? When I get in those scenarios where somebody triggers me and I don't like this reaction, and it's normal to have one, but if I don't like the reaction, what is it that they did that triggered me, good or bad? So like
Mhm.
your interviews, what is it that excited me? What is it that I am getting out of this situation? And then being able to the next day give yourself grace and realize this is going to happen again. So what tools do I have to either stop it before it starts or deal with it whenever it does present itself?
Yeah. Yeah. I found myself in a situation recently where I was working with a client and, everybody has different ways of approaching things. And she started getting real loud. And
Mm-hmm.
I came from a house of not loud people. Everybody kept their
Yeah.
cool, which maybe we should have showed our emotions a little bit more in hindsight, but yeah, but still loudness is very uncomfortable to me, very
Wow.
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And in fact, little side note, that was heightened during both of my pregnancies. Whenever I heard something really loud, I would
Mm.
almost immediately burst into tears. It was the strangest thing. Anytime I was
Wow.
startled, it was like amplified beyond means. But
Mhm.
it took me a minute. when, she's louder and louder, you kind of, not upset about something, but
Yeah.
and maybe it was to me, I'm like, "Oh, if she's yelling at me, she must be bad," but it wasn't necessarily that.
Yeah.
Anyway, it took me a minute to kind of put all of that together and be like, "Okay, well, this is how she's expressing herself, and I'm uncomfortable with that just because I'm not used to it." And,
Hmm.
yeah, little things like that, I think are definitely important. Now, of course, you touched on one of the things that is close to my heart, which is how eating and how our food and our exercise
Hmm.
can really affect our emotions and our mental health. Can you expand a little bit on that? I am a little embarrassed to say that beyond the high level science, I'm not very well schooled in that. So I would love it
Hmm.
if you can help us understand a little bit more the importance of eating God's foods and moving the body that He made us,
Yeah.
gave us.
Well, and that's why I love shows like this and a community like this where we can partner together. I mean, we're all headed out for the same goal. We want to fulfill our potential that God's given us, and we want to educate ourselves. I mean, and I think what you're doing is so important. And I I'm on the flip side where I know more about the mental health side, but I don't always make the best physical health choices. And so much of stress is related to poor eating habits. It's something, I don't know why it's wired like this, but the correlation between stress eating, that's why it's called that, and wanting carbs and wanting sugar. And it's something so biological that I can't, name the exact science of it, but it's there and we're all aware of it and we see it. And then the guilt that comes afterward, or the shame. And
Mhm.
um, I think that's the hardest part with any of this, is the vulnerability of being able to admit that my choices directly impact my overall health on both sides, and how can I make that better. So I would say, again, back to Abraham Maslow. He was an American psychologist, and he created the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and a lot of people have heard of it. And the bottom layer, though, is our our physical needs, which is food, shelter, having our basic needs met. And those can't be met by unhealthy choices. It will be very um, shallow, I guess, to be, it's like running on sugar, and it's great for a few minutes and then it hollows out. So I, I've tried to, in my life, figure out how to set a good foundation when you're looking at that pyramid of making healthy choices, and especially as a mom, being able to model that for my children. And I wish we had a just set outline of, eat this food, you'll feel this, or
Mhm.
do this. But again, it comes back to how we're uniquely wired and what works best for our family. But I I see that the combination of diet and exercise directly impacting things like anxiety. When I would go into in-home counseling with children, I worked for many years just with children, adolescents. My youngest was 3. My youngest client was 3. My oldest client was 18. And the very first session, before we talked about anything emotional, I would say, what are your eating habits like? How much does this child sleep? How often do you guys eat around the table? That I needed to know that before I asked anything about behavior, because I knew right there that's the foundation that they're building on. And based on those answers, if I'm hearing they're only eating, they skip meals often, they only sleep a little bit, they eat a lot of, red food coloring, different things that I know are directly tied to behavior, that would answer a lot of questions. And the same goes for adults. We can't expect to have holes in our diet and have complete mental health, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah. If you have holes in the diet, you're going to have holes in your mental health as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Wow. So you have seen that. You've seen that clinically in practice, people maybe changing their diet, and that helps progress where they
Directly,
are.
yes. Even just the regularity of meals, and the not on the end of, you know, implementing a strict diet or anything like that, but just again, back to normalizing, eating a whole healthy meal, whatever is recommended for you, or working with someone like you with a trainer or somebody who has more knowledge on that. But eating basic whole meals, having your plants and your veggies and your fruits and getting vitamins or taking a multivitamin and all of that is, when I see that starting and regularly happening in a family, yes, I would see a direct impact on their behavior, on even just the marriage of dinner time around the table. You're meeting two needs at once. You're meeting the physical need, but you're also meeting the emotional need of connection. And we can do that over a home cooked meal. That's why hospitality is so, we're learning a different side of it now with technology, but it's so directed around food, and just having both needs met at the same time is just a beautiful picture of how it all works together.
I hadn't really ever considered that it is meeting both needs when you're sitting down at
Mhm.
the table with your family. You're meeting their need for connection, their need for the need for face-to-face time, and then
Mhm.
also with the food. That's I
Yeah.
don't know why I hadn't considered that was meeting more than one. Multitasking. We all like to say we can
Absolutely.
multitask.
Yeah. No, the meals are so it's heartbreaking when you think that's such a simple thing you could do, and when you don't do it, it shows in behavior with kids. Most of the families I'd work with, I would encourage them just to do 7 meals. So we have 21 meals a week. So if you
Mhm.
could do a third of those together, you would see an increase in connection, in behavior of the children, just because they feel safer knowing that they have a connection point. So that could be breakfast, lunch, or dinner once a day for 7 days, and just you can see an impact on your family.
Wow, that's really powerful. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Uh, I know a lot of it. It's funny, again, during the whole COVID thing, I've seen a lot of people saying, I've made dinner 7 nights in a row
Yeah.
and with my family, we're all eating. And it'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see
Yeah.
how we come out on the other end. And it will be interesting to see once things get back into a little bit more of a rhythm and a routine.
Yeah.
Will teachers be seeing differences in the behavior of their kids because they're
Sure.
going to be around their parents a lot more? And
Yeah.
uh, I think a lot of people are really trying to make some positive changes in this,
Mhm.
um, and maybe that's one thing that'll come out is getting that double whammy with more
Yeah.
dinners. I know I had an interview with a girl who preps all of her meals like on the weekend, and then she has one or two different things throughout the week. And I thought that was such a simple way of approaching it. And
Mhm.
I am so guilty of feeling like I have to have these intricate meals, and
Oh, yeah.
and everything needs to be different. And well, this recipe we had 4 weeks ago. Well, who cares? Who cares? Have it once a week
Exactly.
if you want to. I mean, it doesn't have to be that complicated. And I know I make it
No.
way, way too complicated sometimes because I do enjoy cooking. I do
Yeah.
enjoy bringing my family together. And I think so some of it is I tend to make things a little bit more difficult than they need to be. But, just pulling together something pretty easy and making it,
Yeah.
shoot, do it every night for a week and then have something else the next night and bring everybody together. So
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see how what is a result of that.
I know. I hope, I think it's a great, I just think about be still and know that I'm God, and we're being forced to be still and
Mhm.
what good can come out of this, and maybe some realignment of values or, habits that will come out of this. I totally agree.
Yeah. Yeah. Can we talk a little bit about meditating? I hadn't really
Hmm.
planned on asking you about that, but like I said, I am terrible at it. And I
Hmm.
don't know why. I really don't know why. What what advice, if you and I were sitting across the coffee table,
Hmm.
what advice would you give to me in terms of that? And maybe meditating is like not for everyone. I don't know. What are your thoughts
Hmm.
on that? What encouragement would you give? How would you encourage someone like me just to kind of start and get into that?
Sure. Well, no surprise, my first question would be, why do you want to meditate? Is it based on what you've been told that, this is going to produce this result? And I know there's varying sources that talk about it. So that would be my first question, which you don't have to answer right
I can
now.
answer it. No, I can answer. I
But
have done it in the past and
uh-huh.
I felt really good, but
Okay.
I feel very vulnerable when I'm doing it.
Okay.
If and right now there are a lot of people in my house to see me sitting there with my eyes closed or open or whatever. Like
Yeah.
I can do anything. I don't, but I think I feel very vulnerable doing it is one
Okay.
thing. But I do like the way that I feel when I'm done
Mhm.
with it. And I also, as insulting as it is to me, I struggle with blood pressure issues, and I think that it has helped my blood pressure in the past. So
There you
that's
go.
why.
Yeah. No, I think that's perfect because you know that doing this practice or practicing this meditation will produce a result that you want. So I think that's big as far as if we want to implement new habits or behavior in our life, we have to have a strong why or it's not going to hold up. But I would say I have a hard time too. I mean, my micro practice, going back to that term, is when I first wake up, even if it's 5 minutes before my kids are young, 4, 6, 8, and a lot of times I'll wake up with them instead of for them is the saying. Um, but if I can get up and be still, I say the Lord's Prayer just because I figure that's the model we have. And then I just kind of try to sit quietly for a while. And meditating, I know, looks different for everyone. I think a lot of people think you're supposed to clear your mind completely, which as a mom, you are continuously multitasking, let alone as a business owner or someone working in the professional field. Um, it's hard to do. And you're right, it's totally vulnerable because you think, what if I'm left alone with my thoughts? I think a
Mhm.
lot of people are uncomfortable with that I'm afraid I'm going to hear something I don't want to hear, or I'm going to think something I don't want to think. And meditating, maybe having a word you meditate on or a Bible verse. Again, the one that keeps coming to me is our daily bread. And so I just think, okay, God gave exactly the portion of manna that the Israelites needed every day. They
Mhm.
gathered what they needed for that day, and then that's it. So I just kind of sit and rest in that and think, just what I need for today. That's it. And just kind of sit and absorb that, I think is so much a part of meditation. And even the word meditation, some people have a weird connotation with it. I think it's just the practice of being still and recentering or recalibrating if needed, because you might be headed one direction and this just really helps you recenter, focus. And it's a very spiritual thing and it affects your physical and your mental health, which is perfectly what we're talking about.
Yeah, yeah. I have noticed another one of the things that I like to do is just go sit outside.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, I might even do an episode on this, but I talk about it just sitting in the presence of God. So it's not
Yeah.
like going and it's not having a laundry list of prayers and praises and all of this stuff, but it's just kind of pretending like he's just sitting there with me, and that
Yeah.
has been really powerful in my own walk. And my it's actually
Mm-hmm.
why I'm here doing Graced Health, is because I had a season where I was really intensely doing that because I could tell God was trying to talk to me, and the only way I could hear him was by getting still. So I definitely
Mm-hmm.
believe in the power of that, and then all the things get in the way sometimes.
I'm in the same boat though. I love that you said that because I feel closest to God in nature. And I'm not like a North Face girl or like I don't naturally, like that you wouldn't meet me and think, oh, she's really outdoorsy. It but I feel like it's easier to hear God's voice. And you think about the very beginning was he was in the garden and he walked with Adam and Eve. And I think that's a wonderful practice. And I think as busy moms or entrepreneurs or anything, you think you don't have the time for it, but once you've experienced it, and like you said, you loved how you felt afterwards, you make the time for it, even if it's 5 minutes.
Yeah,
There's no time limit or minimum requirement to be able to practice that.
that's a good point. That's a good point. Brianna, thank you so much. This has been so good. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna be kind of thinking about some of our conversation and next steps to take that. This is one of the things I love about podcasting, because
Mm-hmm.
when else would I have an opportunity just to get on Zoom with
Yeah.
with the counselor and have these kind of conversations. And so this was just for me, I'll just let
Good.
everybody else listen, but this
That's great.
free session. You didn't know you were doing that.
Yeah, that's great. No,
Um,
I love it.
Hey, I also want to plug your podcast. I
Sure.
love what you do. I listen to yours as well. One of my very favorite things that you do is, number one, like I said at the beginning, you always say something different you love. So I feel like I'm getting to know you better and better with every
Hmm.
episode. And then you also, in many of your episodes, you'll ask a question and then you'll pause and you'll
Hmm.
give everybody an opportunity to think about it, which was very jarring the first time because,
Yeah.
and I think it was at the very beginning of your podcast and you're like, you
Uh-huh.
weren't expecting that, were
Yeah.
you?
Yep.
And I really love that. And I love just the
Hmm.
moment to kind of think about it because sometimes I can't even catch up with my thoughts when I'm hearing things. So I just love that. I'm going to link to everything below, but can you tell people how they can get in touch with you?
Sure. My website is brianaleach.com, and sometimes you have to spell it out, but you'll have it on your site. And then yeah, the all of my information is on there as far as social media links. All of mine are Briana Leach LPC, and then my podcast is on there as well. And yes, like you said, Grace in Progress is my ability to connect with others and give them a safe space to learn more about themselves. And that's just it. Like I said, even like meditation, we don't think we have the time, but you can learn more about yourself in a 15-minute or less podcast. All of mine are very short. It's like a small dose of therapy. And I give those pauses because if you don't do it right then, you probably won't circle back. You probably won't take the time to make notes and do it later. So right that second, you can give that gift to yourself and go ahead and dive deeper and know yourself more. But on my website for your listeners, I'm going to have a free PDF download. It'll be on the homepage that they can download to help them dive in a little bit more of what self-care looks like for them. It'll just be a one-page self-practice that might help you think outside the box a little bit of what self-care looks like for you.
Oh, perfect. Yes, listeners, go get that and make sure you listen to Grace in Progress. It's a fabulous podcast, and they're very easily digestible. She's not as long-winded as I am. So.
It's just a different style.
I know. I'm just teasing. But anyway, thank you so much for your time. You
Yes.
were such a pleasure and a joy, and I'm so glad we were able to meet at Spark Christian Conference. Spark
Yes,
Podcast.
I'm glad Spark Christian Podcasters Conference.
There we
Yes, I
go.
know.
There we go.
I moved my seat last minute and I got to meet Amy and it's wonderful.
I know it was a total God thing. I love it when
Yep,
I love it when he introduces us. All right. Well, thank
absolutely.
you so much. You go take care of those kiddos, and we will talk to you soon.
Thank you, Amy.
All right. Didn't Brianna bring such thought-provoking information? Like we discussed, we recorded this episode in late March of 2020, and it's initially airing in mid-May 2020. As I went through and re-listened and prepared the rest of this episode with the show notes and editing and all of that kind of business, I felt the same way I did when we talked. My shoulders just felt more relaxed. I felt more peaceful. And I will tell you, as a follow up, I've taken some steps to speak with someone who can offer counseling, not as that reparative, like she talked about, but as a preventative, just like going to my doctor and getting my well woman check. Make sure you check out her podcast, Grace in Progress, or at a minimum, follow Brianna on the socials. I've got it all linked below, but it's basically everywhere she is. She's at Briana Leach LPC. It's BRANALEACHLPC for licensed professional counselor. I promise you will feel a healthy dose of grace when you do, and it's always fun to listen to her podcast episodes and hear what she is loving that day. Just a friendly reminder to subscribe to this show on your favorite listening device. I'm taking a little bit of a break this summer, and while I will continue releasing new episodes every week, I won't be making show notes to email them out. I will still be on the Graced Health Facebook podcast group though, so head over there and join. It's free. We have a lot of fun participating, and we'll just do different challenges. I've been trying to get people to share recipes. I'll share some workouts, and just furthering the conversation of the podcast. I like to call it the safest, most encouraging corner of the gym, because I like to talk in fitness language. Okay, that is it. Go out there and have a graced day.